Brazil is the birthplace of the bossa nova, which means new trend. After Jason Perry won the championships in seasons 2 and 3, a new trend is just what this series got when Steven Elson won the crown last season. Now, with one race in the books for season 5, the SRF Weekend Warriors come to Brazil's Autódromo José Carlos Pache for round 2 of 12 on the calendar, and all the action can be seen live as it happens here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hello and welcome to another GSRC broadcast as we count down to green way up in the press box. To bring you our bird's eye view is Soup and Sandwiches. Yours truly, Bill Soup's on, joined by Samuel Ryman. Down in the production van, turning the knobs and pushing the sliders is the hardest working man in sim race broadcasting, our director Joe Peak, and he's armed with cameras located, aimed, zoomed, and focused by GSRC's camera guru Dougie Beard. As cyberspace flows into your place over these next 15 streamy award-worthy minutes, GSRC will bring you all the storylines, all the stats and facts you'll need to appreciate the 40 minutes of simulated Spec Racer Ford action that will immediately follow as we count down to green. Season 5 opened on the Roval at Charlotte, where the winner was, well, the appropriately named Austin winner. But Sam, no Roval today.
No, far from it, Bill. This is a very twisty circuit. The Autodromo Carlos Pache, as you mentioned at the top of the show, named after the Formula One driver who died in a plane crash back in 1977. This place opened all the way back in 1940, hosted F1 around the time of Emerson Fittipaldi, when the sport was really growing over here in Brazil. Its first F1 event was in 1972, and then Ayrton Senna came along and helped redesign it a little bit, and it's been the host of a Brazilian Grand Prix ever since 1990. Really earned it a place in the world map of racetracks, known as Interlagos, in between the lakes. And Bill, I think you've been playing with my script, because here it says 15 turns packed into 2.6 miles. This place twists around like a drunk snake. And I know I sure as heck didn't come up with that analogy, but it is very true indeed, especially that infield portion. Let's give you an idea of just how drunk the snake is with our GSRC lap guide.
All right, we've got Kevin Brown in the GSRC SRF, so let's do a lap around Interlagos. Coming up to turn 1, the long uphill climb makes it a good braking zone to attempt to pass. But executing can be tricky with how the elevation goes away quickly and the track switches back and forth. When no one is willing to give way, that's when accidents happen. Just a small lift through 2, and then it's flat out through Curva del Sol. That brings us to the backstretch, which is the only other sensible place to set up an overtake. It's just long enough for a whiff of the draft to reel you in and give you some hope for an opportunity at turn 4. This one is a lot more straightforward, but you still have to worry about overshooting the corner because of how it drops away. It's not a lot, but enough to affect the car. Thankfully, with this being a more modern circuit, there's miles of parking lot runoff on the outside to save you from a spin or just out-braking yourself. 5 is just a gentle bend at the exit of 4. Bring the car back to the left and get ready to tackle 6 and 7, which can be tricky with the lift throttle oversteer the SRF experiences. You'll slow for 6, get on the power momentarily, then lift a little to get the front to bite for 7. Then there's not much of a stretch before you're braking for 8. Get greedy on the inside curb because it's flat, wide, and all of it is considered inbounds. By now we've hit the technical back portion of the circuit with a series of switchbacks. Once again, you need to be wary of lifting and unsettling the car. Coming up is the Duckspill, which is the slowest corner of the track. It's a sharp right-hand hairpin with a curved braking zone and a fair bit of camber. But as you exit, you'll want to switch right as soon as you can to help straighten out turn 11. Let the car drift all the way right, straighten out, and then get the car slowed for 12. This is the most critical corner of the track. There's really nothing distinctive about this one other than it's the last time you'll hit the brakes all the way until turn 1. That means the front straight is going to be nothing but draft battles as long as 2 cars are close. You might expect to see drivers waiting until 12, back off from the car in front, and focus on really getting a great launch out of the corner. Just cut all the way across the pit entry to minimize steering angle and distance because once again, it's all considered inbounds and you won't get a cut course. Then it's a cruise to the line and you've now finished a lap around Interlagos.
Joe Peak doing what he does so well, talking the viewers around a racetrack. Today, it's Brazil's Interlagos. Now let me talk you around a lap in the point standings after one event. With only one race in the book, these standings reflect the results of the opening round. Be advised, the point totals come from the iRacing League page. The actual interval between the drivers might vary slightly when the official results are made available. Truly an international roster, as we have 38 drivers here today, but on the top 5 you can see 4 different countries represented. The defending champion Steven Elson is back to defend his crown, but the Brit has a little work to do after missing the podium in the season opener. American Austin winner is not here today, at least so far. He tops the chart with the UK's Dimitrios Kouloudis. I'm going to try this again. Kouloudis. The Dutchman Tim Hendrickson chasing right behind. Maple Leafer Josh Arnold fills out the overlay. So we've talked about the track. We've gone over some of the points. Sam, how about we take a look at the race details?
Yeah, let's take a quick look at those. This is the second round of a 12-race season for the 5th season of this championship. These drivers will have 4 drop weeks throughout the championship. Now the cars they're racing, they are all racing the Spec racer Ford. Open setup, that means they can play around with it a bit, make sure it handles alright. Very light fuel load, so limited to 30% fuel cell capacity, so they will have to make one stop, despite the fact there's a short race at 40 minutes. A very large field, just a tick under 40 cars here, so that's why we're going to have 2 fast repairs, because it could get chaotic in the middle and towards the back of the field. But if you want to be up there racing for the win, Bill, you're not going to want to use one of your 3 repairs during this sprint race.
Yeah, very kind. With no incident cap and 2 free repairs, you should be able to finish this race. If you get disqualified on this one, you're in trouble. Big field here today. We talked about, let's see, 35 drivers have been able to put in qualifying times right now. Maybe we can check in on qualifying a little bit and then talk about the weather. Kane Halliburton up on the top of the qualifying, putting in a 1:52.4. Interesting, Sam, this is open qualifying. They're all out there.
Yeah, and that's why you're going to see a bit of diversity in these qualifying times, because the top times, I guarantee you, are going to be with help from the draft. These cars are so dependent, they're so much faster when they get that slipstream that really, if you want to be starting up towards the front, you're going to want to get a toe on someone. But the thing is, Bill, we have a large field here today, and I guarantee you there will be a couple of drivers starting towards the front of the field who will run into trouble. There's going to be one driver that we're not going to mention throughout the whole race, starting around 15th or something, who's going to find his way by the incidents, who's not going to get a good qualifying time because he doesn't get a good slipstream, and is going to come out here with a good finish day today and a good points day. And there's a lot of drivers that hope it will be them.
Well, if letters in your name count for points, then the Jose Luis Oviedo de Castillo, and then it actually runs out. We're going to call him Mo because there's something that happens. It just says MO at the end.
Yeah, so the driver of this number 38 car is called Mo.
Honestly,
that is what we will refer to him for the rest of the broadcast.
There is more to his name, but if we ran out of room on our timing and scoring, so the last 2 letters we see are MO, so that's where we're going with Mo here today. Looking at David Gaspers, he's a driver we know from when we covered the what was that called? The Simulated Sports Car Championship, the SSCS Championship Series. We used to cover it on Saturdays. It was a multi-class racing. Right now, Gasper's doing really well as he's sitting in the 2nd position in qualifying. How about, Director, we let my co-commentator talk about the weather a bit as we see some drivers spinning off the track.
Yeah, well, let's see. How hard is it to stay on the track today? Shouldn't be too hard. The 93-degree Fahrenheit track temperature is not too hot. However, one thing that always throws drivers a little bit of a curveball here, Bill, is that the Interlagos circuit does have quite a high elevation, so there's less air pressure. Wondering if that means these drivers struggling for a bit of downforce, less air, pushing their cars down. In a car that, notably, it's kind of infamous on iRacing for not having a heck of a lot of downforce and stability to begin with.
Now, I like this track a lot. I think it's a great combination of a roval. It has some long straights where the draft plays a major effect. We'll see some great passing going into 1 and going into 4 on those long straights. But also, Sam, there's a long section of technical sections, right, left, right, where if you're really fast, maybe you can break the draft.
Yeah, and that's going to be your goal. If a driver behind you is annoying you and you know you're faster than him, you're going to be giving it everything you've got through the infield section, as we currently ride on board through the infield section here. This is where you've got to try and break that gap so the car behind you doesn't get a run on you when you get back around to the front straight. Problem is, even though it's a very twisty infield, it doesn't go on for too long, and so you're seeing almost an incident there happen during qualifying. That's difficulties of having everyone on track for a 20-minute qualifying session. So if you don't capitalize on these apexes in the midfield, the driver behind you could definitely still be within the shot when you get back out to the main straight.
As we look at this, I can report, oh, there's a spinner. David Gasper has made his way up to the top of the chart, putting in a 1 minute 52.3. My goodness, he is really fast. Look at that. Again, what does it really mean? But he's actually a 1/10 of a second faster than Kane Halliburton, who now sits in second.
Yeah, and talk about that big run to the finish line there, Bill. This race is a 40-minute long race. When you account for the fact that we're going to have a pit stop, you're averaging about 2 minutes per lap in the overall race distance. So this race is going to go on for about 21, 22 laps. With 38 cars in the field, there are going to be some packs out there that are going to be battling for all 20 so of those laps. And we will have a couple of photo finishes for positions in that long run down to the finish line.
36 drivers able to put in qualifying times. 3 drivers still yet to put in times. Edgar Sanchinelli. Actually, I think Edgar's not going to race with us. He did not put in practice time either. Only driver that actually put in some practice that didn't put in a qualifying time, Alan Chapman. 36 drivers look to be what we'll probably put on the grid.
Yeah, and the allotted qualifying time has finished. However, iRacing has added an extra 2 minutes for drivers to finish up their qualifying laps if they started one. There you see the time on the top left corner of your screen. That's left in the session. At the top of your screen is the fastest lap of David Gasper's 152.3 to beat. No one within a 1/10 of it right now, but we do still have several cars on track. Dimitro's is one of those. Crosses the line in his number 26 machine. And that lap didn't count, which probably meant he had an off course at some point.
The great jazz musician Charlie Parker just put in a qualifying time, now sitting 37th.
Yeah, I think the only driver left on a competitive qualifying time might be Richard Yarland in the number 96. He's currently there 10th on the grid on a 153.6. However, now with most of the cars sitting in the pits, he won't have anyone to tow down the front straight here. So I wonder if it will be all for naught. In which case, let's go ahead to our starting lineup here, Bill.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do as well, as soon as we can. Our director having a little technical problems there. We'll hold off just a minute. We're still not sure if it is a rolling start or a standing start. We apologize for not knowing. If it's a rolling start, we have plenty of time to get through the grid. We're just learning this series. This is the only second time we've covered them. We will be back. This is round 2. We expect to be back next week on, well, that would be Easter Sunday, also April Fool's Day. No kidding. We're going to be back for that one as they have round 3. That's what a difference as we are at this large track here at Interlagos. Next week, we go to the tight confines of Lime Rock. Let's go ahead and see if we can bring up the grid. And on the front row, it's a familiar name to GSRC viewers, David Casper and Kane Halliburton behind him. The second row is filled up by Demetrius Houlodoulis and Dave Ligeti in the fourth position. Row 3, Jason Perry, the man who won season 2 and 3, and Richard Yolland outside of him. Jerry McGarvey in the 7th spot, Felipe Chavin outside of him, and the 5th row is populated by Josh Arnold and the defending champion, Stephen Elson. Sam?
All those drivers covered by 1.4 seconds. You go back another 10th of a second, you get our 11th place starter, Fred Desai, ahead of Keith Walsh and Louise van der Sloot. Matteo Dont will be starting in 14th place, ahead of Mo and Edward Doherty on row 8. Robert Plumley and Wayne Palmer back there, and we can confirm for you guys now it will be a rolling start. Alejandro Lero will be starting 19th, and rounding out the top 20 will be Michael Shaw.
In the blackjack spot, it's Stevie Ray and Kerry Cates in the double duck position. The next row is going to be filled up by Jeff Cantor and Tom Gradwell. James McCreachy follows him, Marcus Burkett, Christopher Patterson, and Johan Venter. In the 29th position, it's Daniel Sadro and Ian Wilson. Sam?
But wait, there's more. 31st place will be Richard Franco ahead of Christopher Keeble, and behind them will be Neil Dawkins and Gary Walbolt. Jack Hobbs, Richard Gortatowski and Charlie Parker were the last drivers to turn a lap during qualifying, running all the way down to 1 minute 57, so about 4 seconds off the pace of the top drivers there, which is nothing too shabby, honestly. Rather tricky circuit this is. You mentioned Bill, Alan Chapman will actually be our last starter because looks like... Oh no, Edgar's here. Okay, yep, we have a 39 car field. Edgar Santinelli. It's Christopher Patterson is not in the server right now, and he was slotted to start 27th, so hopefully he'll show up.
You can see the cars twinkling a little bit there as we have a little bit of an internet connection problem, but we'll see if we'll get that straightened out for you. Hopefully that'll settle down once they start to roll. Give you a good opportunity to see that technical section we were talking about as the drivers are lined up right before turn number 6. There is a Portuguese name for this corner. I'm going to spare our viewers by not using it. I'm going to go with the English translation through the horseshoe into 7, which is called Little Orange. Down into 8, and unfortunately we're having internet connection problem. We've lost the picture, but that's okay. We'll get it back as quickly as I can. Sam, we'll do it old school radio broadcast.
Yeah, let's keep our eye on the drivers up front here, Bill. I'm fairly certain there will be a little bit of chaos towards the back end of the field in these opening stages. So it will be interesting seeing Gaspers and Halliburton and Houdaludis and all those drivers up front, which one of those come out on top. And then we'll give you a report momentarily on the drivers that weren't able to come out as cleanly. But hopefully they'll prove me wrong and we'll have a clean opening lap here.
We're going to clean one as the field works its way through junction. That's the final really corner now, out of 12. Control of the field going to be turned over to David Gasper. The pace car just about ready to pull off. We're looking to go 40 minutes. Round number 2 here in the Weekend Warriors. Pace car pulls off right now, and Gaspers is in control. 37 cars were able to put in qualifying times. 39 cars on the grid. Pace car now actually does pull in. Gasper sitting to the left of the field on the front. He's on the gas. Gather up the chickens, take cover behind the cows because the horses are out of the barn. And it is indeed Gaspers that leads the field down into the first corner.
Well, the leaders seem to have gotten through without incident, but the driver who really got a nice start was defending champion Stephen Elson. He made a third row on the outside in turn 1, and he was able to gain a lot of positions doing that. But he is coming under fire from Josh Arnold behind him.
The front two cars have distanced themselves from the field. It is really now back to the driver in third. That's Kane Halliburton. They've lined up behind him. Halliburton, Perry, Leggetti, Yolland, McGarvey, Arnold, and talked about Elson. Here's Elson making another look as he's trying to get on the back of Josh Arnold, really pestering him as they're single file. But again, the top two drivers begin to pull away, and that is, of course, Gaspers and Halliburton.
Yeah, we've got a picture now there so our viewers can see at the start they're getting point. Johan Venter is making some aggressive moves in the middle of the field. I don't know how, but he started 27th and he is already up to 17th.
Doing really well. Actually loses a position now as it is Stevie Ray gets in him. This is kind of the second pack that's led by in 16th position by the driver we're calling Mo. Now they're coming at you. You can see the driver in third. The gap that are up to the leaders. We're not even seeing the leaders in that picture. That shows you just how far up they really are. Well, they're not that far, actually.
Well, one thing the number 26 here doesn't want to see in his picture is Gaspers. He wants to lead to himself. He's looking to the high side as they run down towards turn 1 here. Now, remember, this is an S's section. It switches back 2 or 3 times. So he has the outside now, but now he has the inside. And Demetrios is going to go to P1, but he can't close the door.
Nope. And Halliburton was able to run up behind. It looked like Halliburton was going to make it a 3-car battle, but then that allowed Leggetti to bring the whole train in there. Now Leggetti on the outside as they head down into corner number 4. Leggetti makes the move as Halliburton is left behind on a bump, and spinning off is Jason Perry. Perry was on a run on the outside, got into the back of Halliburton, who was kind of in the outside line, Sam.
Yeah, very unfortunate for Perry, and I'm sure he's not too pleased about that. He'll be able to take one of his 2 fast repairs, but the problem is a very clean opening lap, to be honest, is going to drop him far down the order, although the intensity picking up on the second lap. Now they got 1 clean lap in the books. There's some more bumping and banding going on at the back. Johan Venter, we talked about how aggressive he had been on the opening lap. He's been involved in the war since start lap 2, and he's got some damage on his 007 machine.
And now we've got our picture back again as we look back at Johan Venter. Remember, there are 2 fast repairs, so that's going to not help Jason Perry, who was racing up in 5th position, as he's already taken his toe. He's going to be well out of it. Sam, maybe if you can save your fast repair to when it's in the pit window, you can use it without it costing you too much. Come in for fuel and get a fresh car.
Yeah, I gotta confess, Bill, I don't know how wide open that pit window will be, but right now, unless you're really being held up by the cars in front of you, I have a feeling you don't really want to pit and break away from the pack. You want to have someone to draft out there on these long straights. 2 laps in the books. Of course, it's a timed race, but we expect it to go about 21, 22 laps. Gaspers continues to lead ahead of Demetrius and Leggetti in the top 3. Those 3 have broken away by about 2 seconds to the rest of the field.
And I think that Perry spin has allowed those 3 drivers to pull away now. As Sam just talked about, it's Gasper.
Oh, a spinner in the SS, Stevie Ray. He had been running in 15th place. Fortunately, he spins off of the racing line, but there's more carnage behind him. One driver not so lucky, Jeff Cantor, but he spins into the grass. And 1 car out in the wall, though, Marcus Burkett, got a lot of action down there in turn 3 on lap 3.
That's been right in front of our driver that we're calling Mo. He had a good look at it. And then after this, maybe we can stay on it, Director, on the replay. We'll just go ahead and find Edward Doherty, as he had contact as well. So there you see that one. We're not going to be able to get to Doherty. Doherty was running up into the 9th position. He had a spin. He's fallen back to 15th now. as he is behind Jose Castillo. Oh, and they actually get together. Let's see if we can find this one. This is Castillo and Doherty coming together. That's Mo. Oh, we'll see this one.
That's a hairpin. That's right at that point of a circuit, Bill, where you start to get excited. You're like, okay, I'm out of a twisty portion now. I can afford to open it up a little bit. But it's the hardest turn on the track. And if things go wrong, things go really wrong.
There you can see from that low angle shot as the two cars get together. So Doherty has trouble, and then he has more trouble. Up in front, 3 cars now with almost a 2-second gap. It continues to be Gaspers, Huladulis, and Ligeti.
Stevie Ray just gave Christopher Keeble a bump draft, and now he turns him. He was trying to give him a bump draft down the front straight. I don't think that works. Turning him and going off in the grass in a wreck definitely doesn't work either. And we'll go back up to the front here, though, where things are getting close towards 5th place.
There we go. We're looking at 5th position right now. That is Halliburton. A friend of him is Yolland.
Now, one problem with this back half of the field, as Demetrius has just taken the lead. Well, that was unexpected, because I think he pulled it off in the infield portion of the circuit here by Gaspers. Not a place where you think you would make the move stick. But there's a new leader, and it's Papaya Orange, number 26 machine.
Obviously a McLaren fan. Gaspers now in 2nd. Ligeti continues to race in the popcorn position, watching the show ahead of him. 1.3 seconds back to 4th position. He's beginning to come, and this is Jerry McGarvey. He's distanced himself. McCarvey, I think we'll go with on this one. McAreevy, there we go. McAreevy up by about 2.5 seconds on Yolland.
Yeah, and he's running about the same pace as leaders, so just handing 2 seconds back of them for now. Meanwhile, things getting close for 7th. There was a little bit of contact between Clayne Halliburton and Stephen Elson in the first turn, and there's a car spun around there. That's Josh Arnold.
All that going on. Arnold had a run down the front straight. He was on the outside. He was making a move on Yolland. They ended up getting together. And they spin, and then going through, splitting through the middle, whereas everybody else got through. Halliburton, Elson, Chavin. So some more attrition for drivers racing up front.
Yes, less attrition though, Bill, and more setbacks because of the amount of spinners we're having in the early stages here. We mentioned the difficulty of the circuit at the top of the show. And because of the 3 repairs and the good runoff area you have here, they can continue to get going again. It is opening up a door for some drivers who started at the back. Alan Chapman started 38th. He's already up to 14th.
Now, Hudaludis being challenged by Gaspers racing in 2nd. I don't think he's happy right there. As they come out of 12 down the straight, we'll see if Gaspers wants to make a move. We're looking a little farther back in the field right there.
Yeah, if you saw a car in the Kimi Raikkonen line there, pretending it was a lawnmower, that was Fred Desai, who just had to spin out of the final turn.
And sure enough, I had a feeling the Gaspers wanted the spot, and he did. He took it on the inside, so put him back up in front of Hudaludis.
Yeah, this is friendly competition right now, though, Bill. I mean, these two drivers know they're... I mean, they keep wanting the lead from each other, but they know they're not going to break away from each other unless the other one makes a mistake. Right now, they're just trying to keep it clean and try and go as fast as they can and hope that when the other car does make a mistake, if they do, that they're behind them and they can pull away.
So they continue to swap. Ligeti watching the whole thing. In fact, here they go again. Yeah, I think this is more of a dance than it is a race right now, as Gaspers takes that position.
Ligeti saying, I have 2 left feet.
More contact in the back. In this report, we don't need to go there, but racing in 22nd position, Richard Gortatkowski had a spin. He's going to take his fast repair.
Yeah, the only drivers who look to be out of a race after the early incidents are Jason Perry and James McCreachy. 36 cars still competing on the lead lap. We're about a quarter distance now, over 10 minutes through this race. That pit window might start opening up soon, Bill.
Now we look at this battle a little farther back for 8th position. That's the last car in that second train there. Yalin trying to make a move on Chavin. These guys are right behind defending champion Stephen Elson, who's racing in 5th, and Kane Halliburton. See them going through now as they get into the technical section. Coming as they're going to be coming out. This is their 3. Now, let's stay on this one. We'll see if they get a passing zone into 12 here. See if they make a move. We ride on board with Yalin. I think, Sam, they're happy just holding station right there.
Yeah, another driver who's been a big mover in these opening laps, just running a few positions behind Yalin, is the number 13 of Wayne Palmer. He started in 18th. We've seen some drivers running around 10th place hit trouble early on, and Wayne's been one of the drivers who's capitalised, moved up to 11th.
Richard Franco was running in 19th position. He just nosed it into the wall. He falls back to 25th. Let's take a look. Can we get back to 10th position, Director? Are we able to this? This is Keith Walsh. And I'm going to go with Matthew. Oh, I'm going to take a shot. You want to take a shot at 10th place there, Sam? You had called this one under the grid.
Matteo Dont. Oh. He's having a pretty solid race too. Started 14th up into 10th position, and now Palmer, who we just gave a shout out to, as well as Josh Arnold, who had a mishap a little moment ago. These 4 all closing back in on each other to form another little pack. A good pack about a strike for 5th place. Philippe Chauvin trying to get 2 into 1. Not going to work though. He was able to get by Halliburton, but he wasn't able to go up alongside Elson.
Halliburton was racing much farther up. He's fallen back a little bit down into this will be 7th now. Chauvin again on the move, now looking to get one more as he makes a move on the defending champion, Stephen Elson. Elson on the outside will have the momentum, and he holds off the 59 of Chavin.
This is more where we expected to see Elson. He started 10th. He made a move on the outside of a couple of cars on the opening lap to get up to 8th. Then he's just been methodically working his way towards the front. This is all going on about 10 seconds back of our leaders, who still haven't decided which one of them wants to lead. So he might not be within striking range for the win unless they run into trouble, and that's trouble right there for Elson. That's going to damage his car a little bit too. Elson ran off into the grass a little bit as we were taking a look at another battle, but no harm, no foul. He was able to maintain his 5th position, but did give him a bit of a kink in the right front fender.
Just ahead of these guys, as we look back off of Elson now, there's another, don't worry, Elson is okay. He is not suffered some tragic decapitation there. It's just a bug in the iRacing platform that they're working on. I'd like to quickly highlight the driver in fourth, Jerry McAreevy. He's trying as he might to catch the guys up in front. Oh!
And Elson into... Oh, boy, he saves onto it. No, he's still skidding through turn 2. He's been thrown off balance, but he maintains 5th place. So great driving there by Elson after contact with Philippe Chauvin. Now, that was Halliburton and Yarland were kind of just riding behind there, waiting to see which way the cars would go. They're unable to get a run and capitalise on the run down to turn 4. So, miraculously, they all maintain their position, but this will allow the pack of Josh Arnold and Matteo Dont and Keith Welsh and Wayne Palmer behind them to close in. This could be forming into a pack of 8 cars racing for 5th place very soon.
Great save from Elson as he almost overcorrected twice, but got that car underneath him. Not only able to save it, but did not lose a position. Completed the pass. Right, but now here comes, Sam talked about it, here comes Josh Arnold.
And a lot of damage on Elson's machine, but if this wasn't enough to keep up with already, Bill, let's throw another wrench into it. Lap traffic.
Yeah, it's going to be coming up. You wouldn't think it would be a factor on a track this big. I can report that Gary Cates, racing back in 20th position, had a big spin. He's made contact as well.
Yeah, he's had to take a tow to the pits after a spin out 3. Yeah, Ian Wilson is the first lapped car that these drivers have had to work by. He's currently running back there in 35th position, but I think he's been keeping it fairly clean so far. The problem is when this pack of racing for 6th place catches up on him, things could get interesting. Things interesting right now, definitely with Chauvin on the inside in 6th place and Halliburton on the outside just took 6 from him as they ran down to turn 1. I guess Chauvin saw enough of a car alongside him last lap around and said, no, let's get single file before turn 1 this time.
And our director has put us on that battle. He also had us on screen as you saw the pass for the lead. That's a little less aggressive up there. The excitement is really back here in this train now that has formed up behind the front runners.
Yeah, the interval for the 2 leaders at the line last lap was 0.02 of a second. Before that was 0.09 of a second. I don't know if these two are having a friendly competition to see how close they can get it at the line, or if the more practical purpose of this bill would be seeing how to get a good run out of a final turn in case this is what it comes down to on the last lap.
Well, the guy who is enjoying the dance is Dave Ligotti back there in 3rd position, because I think every time the front runners do that swap, they pick up 2 or 3 car lengths each time down. The guy who is not liking it is Jerry McAreevy in 4th, who's doing his very best to catch these guys. He continues to fall farther back, now about 5 seconds back in 4th. But the real action is going on behind McAreevy with that Elson in front. Halliburton is now back up to 6. Chauvin, Yalin, and now joining the party is Josh Arnold, Matthias Dons, and Keith Walsh.
We've seen Nelson struggling a little bit with that damage, but he's done a whale of a job so far to hold on to 5th place. With us approaching the halfway point here, I wouldn't be surprised if he's one of the first to come into the pits and try and get that repaired. Of course, it's very hard here to tell when the car's going to come into the pits because pit entry is pretty much in the same place as the racing line.
Here they come. Look at the driver on the outside with a little bit of momentum. That's Yalin. Yalin gets around. Oh, and he gets touched. That is Arnold that gets in the back of Chauvin, and Chauvin gets turned.
Chauvin gets going again. We'll get a replay of that incident. That has dropped him back to 13th position.
Look at the replay on this one. This is from how quickly he closes up on him, and we're looking at Arnold. Very, very light touch.
It doesn't take a lot to upset these cars, Bill.
Yeah, the cars are already ready to come around on their own, aren't they? A little bit of help and they come. Well, that thins out that herd a little bit. Steven Elson continues to lead it. Halliburton and Yallen race 5th, 6th, and 7th. Then there's a little bit of gap back to Arnold and Dance.
Pit window is definitely open, Bill. I mean, we're already over the halfway point of the race, and these drivers are being forced to make a stop. We've already seen pit roads getting a little bit busy with cars at the back who are being knocked in to take their free repair right in the middle of a race. That's right in the middle of a race now. Ideally, I think a lot of them might be coming in, and in fact, our leader is coming in. Gaspers comes in as we hit lap 11.
Ooh, I don't know if I like this one. This is good news for the two guys who stay out. Hudaludis and Ligeti. Now, if these guys can dance together a little bit, maybe they can distance themselves from Gasper. But Ligeti does not seem to be up on the back of Hudaludis right now to give him any kind of momentum. If Demetrius has anything in there, if he's got a hot lap, this would be the time to use it.
And one thing we're going to have to keep an eye on this pit exit here, because it's not the easiest pit exit. Gasper's actually lit the rear tyres up as he was exiting his pit stall and got it sideways. And the other real bad thing about pit exit here, Bill, is there's walls on both sides. If you do get an incident, the drivers who are going to have it worse, so the others try and exit right behind you.
Here's the good news for Gasper. He comes out just in front of Felipe Chavin, who also took his stop. No, did Chavin take a stop? No, I guess not. But he has clear track ahead of him for Gaspers.
Yeah, Chauvin was running up front there, but of course
right.
He fell back because of that incident, so he'll still need to take a stop.
Yeah, that's what surprised me to find him so far back, but yeah, he was involved in that, so that's why Chauvin is back there in 13th. But the point is, Gasper has clear track in front of him. He doesn't have to worry about anything. Our leaders now coming around the final corner, heading up to the pits. And again, we won't really know if they're taking a pit stop or not until they actually come in, because the racing line is right into pit entrance. And nope. And no. And the driver in third right now, Macarivi, also says no.
Yeah, and as Consella from Family Guy watches them, stays out on the racetrack, the battle for 5th place is once again heating up, and they're about to go 3 wide here. Down the middle just went Richard Yarland, and he might be able to pull this off. He does. Nice passing, nice driving by Yarland.
I didn't think Yarland had anywhere to go as he was working around the one side of Halliburton, but he had Elson in front of him. Somehow found room between the two, moves up into 5th. Steven Elson says, I'd like my spot back, as now they are side by side. We'll stay on this one a little bit as they head down into 4. Elson on the outside will try to carry the momentum around. Now maybe a little dipsy-do underneath. Nope, the 17 car cannot get there.
Oh, I don't think... Oh, he gave him a little shot at the back here. I don't think he's going to give up. Elson hasn't really gave up a position this race yet. I think this is the first time he's lost a position and been unable to get it back. Although granted, we'll see what he does over in turn 1 if neither of them pit. Oh, and that's a lap car, Johan Venter, who was off in the infield there.
We'll stay on this a little bit more as these 3 drivers are coming up on the back of Ian Wilson now. Another car that's trying to get out of the way. Meanwhile, our leaders stay out. They have not pitted. They'll be coming around. We'll see if they go in one more time. We can stay on this battle. Oh, now we're looking at our leaders. Let's see how they do. They come around the pit entrance one more time. Do they come in this time? The leader says yes, no. Second place says yes, no. And how about Macarivi? Nope, he's not going to do it either.
Yes, back here could be interesting, seeing if some of them want to pit just to get out of all the jostling for position that's going on. Okay, so Matteo Don't is the first taker. He was running back in around 8th place.
26 seconds between the leader and David Gaspers racing in 11th. Of course, Gasper has set the bar. He's the only car to pit. And now we see some of the other drivers coming in that we had been following. There's Gasper in now 10th position.
I wonder, I think I'm starting to figure out why staying out is a big advantage here, Bill. We mentioned how Gasper's pit and he got out without a lot of traffic in him, around him, but he was lucky. There's so many different strategies going on right now. If you're running up front, you might as well just stay there because there's not a heck of a lot of lap traffic for them to deal with right now. You don't want to risk it and come out in the middle of those packs that we've been seeing running around 10th place.
And if your car is lighter on light fuel, maybe you're a little faster. Gasper had to deal with Johan Venter. He got around him. We'll monitor that gap between the leaders and Gasper. It was just under 26 last time I checked. A little over 26 right now. Leaders stay out. And they stay out. As we look at, they go around one more. There's second place. And we'll take one more shot. We pan back. That's some good camera work by our director. None of them come in. Then back to this battle. Let's see if it heats up, if they stay together, or if somebody's going to decide to come off. One guy comes off. Yalin pulls off. Elson stays out. Halliburton stays out.
Josh Arnold coming in too.
I watched Yalin actually pulling away from Elson. This might be a good play for him. He can come in, maybe get away from him and run some laps, break the draft. Of course, he has to hope he comes out in clear traffic. There's our leader of all the cars who've pitted, David Gasper. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, if you're the one pulling the draft along and other drivers are going fast because of you, you want to pit. You don't want to be helping those drivers behind you out.
Yeah, and we talked about poor Dave Legati, who was trying to stick with the leaders the entire first half of the race. Well, you know, once Hudaludis and Gasper started playing together, once Demetrius was able to get out there and run laps all by himself, he's left Legati all alone.
Still a solid run going back in third. Oh, Gasper's just got up the back of Ian Wilson as they entered the right-hander at the top of a hill. Gasper's really doesn't want to be held up by those cars in front of him, and who can blame him if he allows 1 second to slip away? That will be an advantage to Demetrius after they cycled through, but it was a rather good job for the lap car of Wilson to hold on to that.
Ian Wilson. Now this is interesting. Let's go to 7th position. This is Keith Walsh and David Gasper. Now Walsh is not getting a blue flag, but he probably should. But this is a battle for position, even though Gasper's was our leader.
Yeah, Gasper's will get a nice run on Walsh here. He's got to be careful that Walsh isn't trying to think about coming to the pit. Stephen Elson down pit road this lap, as is Alan Chapman.
Boy, that's a nice job from Keith Walsh, just keeping a nice line, letting Gaspers go by. And this is a good news for Walsh. If he can tag onto the back of the former leader, he can get some fast laps. Alan Chapman pits from 7th position. Stephen Ellison has made his stop. Let's see where Elson's... He's going to come out in clear traffic. In fact, look at this. Look where Elson comes out. He's coming out in 8th, miles ahead of Richard Yalin. Those guys were racing next to each other. In fact, Yalin had got around. Elson was starting to pull away. So a good pit stop from Elson. In fact, Elson's pit stop, 10.6 seconds. Yalin 17, and in fact I kind of worry that Steven didn't put enough fuel. When I look at, well, I don't see a lot of people doing 10-second stops out there. Most of the guys he was racing with 16 and 17-second stops.
Yeah, 10 minutes left. It shouldn't be too difficult to calculate how many laps of fuel you've got left.
And with that, our leader is in. And so does Legati. So with Huda Ludus coming in, maybe we can take a quick peek and find out where David Gasper is. Gasper is coming up to the pits right now. Demetrius Huda Ludus has to hustle.
Yeah, but good news for Huda Ludus. He's near the end of pit road. He doesn't have to stop for very long. And when he gets out of his pit stall, he doesn't have long to go until he's back on full power. He's rolling already. This could be close. They're pretty much side by side now. Huda Ludus has a tighter line to run in this pit exit here, and he has the walls alongside him. He has Gaspers alongside him. Can't see him because of a wall, but his timing and scoring will tell him Gaspers is right behind him, and Gaspers already over the far left of the track to try and pick up Demetrius's slipstream, and look down the inside as they come into four.
Gaspers had that car at full song, had the momentum. Look at the drive from the outside from Huda Ludus. They remain side by side, Sam, as they head towards the horseshoe. Well, and now the orange car will have the preferred position, but look at the run from Gaspers gets in there.
Well, these two have been playing this game throughout the whole first half of the race. We kind of started ignoring it because we're like, oh, they're just playing out there. Now it's not playtime anymore, and you can see that as you saw the rear end of Gaspers slide in there as he went down the hill.
And Legati made up some time as well. His stop, oh my goodness, 9.2 seconds. That's how he made all of that time up. Huda Ludus, his time was 11.5. Gaspers, 14.4. And everybody now has made their stop.
Yeah, I don't think that was a car two-wheeling around the track there, just a bit of a technical glitch. Yeah, so Gaspers at the front of the field. As you mentioned, we've cycled through the pit stops, so let's go ahead and do a rundown here, Bill. It looks like Gaspers, Huda Lewis, Lagarde, McCravey, and Halliburton, your top five.
Yeah, poor Jerry McAreevy. He's been racing all by himself the entire race, out there singing an Eric Carmen tune all by myself. Cannot find anybody to race with. Look, though, the real excitement starts back. Steven Elson, again, with that fast qualifying time. He races in 6th. He's got about 7 seconds before you get back to Richard Yallen. Then Josh Arnold in 8th. Big gap back to Keith Walsh in 9th. There's a little battle back here between Walsh, Van der Sluy.
Meanwhile, the lead just changed hands again as they went down into turn 4, and this is starting to gain more and more meaning now. I mean, I'm sure Gaspers will find his way back by Demetrius eventually. In fact, he's going to do it in the right-hander here, but we are running out of time, and these drivers, as they do this, are just costing each other time to Lagarde.
Yeah, this is all good news to Lagarde. Lagarde back by 2 seconds. He's going to have to hustle if he wants to get there. The front two now, Gaspers and Huda Ludus. They head through 12. Now they'll be on the throttle. Let's see what Gaspers does here as they come down. Actually coming up the straight as it's an uphill run.
Lap traffic will start to become a factor for them, with Gary Walbot in front of them, as well as Jack Hobbs. Of course, none of these drivers are going to pit and get out of the way. Everyone's cycled through their pit stops. There was a bit of action on pit road, by the way. It brought to my attention by Mike Freelebs in our YouTube chat. Robert Plumley actually had to make 2 pit stops during the middle of a race, because on pit exit after the first stop, he was involved in a wreck. With those narrow rules, had to come down and get some repairs. Unfortunately, that cost Plumley a few spots during the cycle. Running into the closing minutes up front, Gaspers leading. Huda Louise. No pass from that 26 right now.
Yeah, Demetrius had the run down the main straight if you wanted it. I think with just under 5 minutes of racing to go, Let's stay on them one more time, and we'll watch him down the straight. And I think he's trying to figure out right now if there's enough time to get the pass made out of 12 before the start-finish line. The start-finish line is way down the straight here. So I think Hudaludis is kind of thinking, am I happy in second? Right now, I think he thinks he is.
I think Hudaludis is thinking, Bill, I don't want to finish third. Because if these two get side by side alongside each other now, that will create a big enough hole in the air, or it will hold them up enough that Legati would be back within striking range. Almost have a feeling that Demetrius is thinking, okay, you're going to be the one who's leading at the start of the final lap, or maybe even just who's leading as we go onto the front straight here and hit the closing 4 minutes of this race. But I'm still going to take a shot at you. I just think there's too much time left right now.
Yep, I agree. And you talked about Legati. He's about 1.8 seconds back. Try as he might to get there, he just can't. Okay, here come the leaders again. Hudaludis has no plans, no intention of making the pass. Just following Gaspers into one.
Now, in theory, they should be starting the final lap next time around. The problem is, there'll be about 1 minute 40 seconds left on the clock. A lap around here is 1 minute 50. I wonder if that's enough for iRacing to credit them with the white flag.
And they come up on behind an interesting battle. Oh, a tip of the hat. Let's give him a nice bear claw at the next Backmarker United meeting. That's Gary Wolberg, who got himself out of the way. He was in a battle with Jack Hobbs for 27th position. Hobbs said, where did my friend go? And here go the two leaders by.
Yeah, next, there's a battle for 25th going on, actually, not too far in front of them, that they're going to catch probably later this lap. And that's between Mo and Charlie Parker. Credit to the whole field, really. I mean, I know we've been talking about spins and a lot of drivers have taken free repairs, but it looks like we're going to have over half of this field finish on the lead lap, which is quite impressive considering the fact it's a giant field on a very small and technical circuit.
Talk about technical. Pull back the curtains a little bit. We were having some technical difficulty, so we didn't follow the back half of the field as much as we wanted to, as we were having internet connections here. Get a chance to look at some of the back markers, though, as the leaders go by. Charlie Parker and Mo, that we talked about earlier. I'm not sure if they're going to get there. All right, now here they come around again with a minute. This is going to be close, Sam. I think we're going to get the white flag lap this time.
Yeah, well, I bet these drivers wish they knew. Yeah. Well, Demetrius not making the pass there.
And of all time to find traffic, here it is on what we think is the white flag lap. We really won't know till we get closer to the end. They came across with about a minute 45, with lap times of about 150. This should be the final lap. Let's stay on it as if it were.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if this was too... I mean, ultimately, I don't think it's going to change Demetrius' approach to this race. He's going to wait until he has confirmation that this is the final lap of a race, and then he'll try and get that run out of the final turn and beat Hudaludis over the line. This race will come down to a matter of thousandths of a second.
Gaspers in front, Hudaludis behind him, about a car length back. They work through 8. Now up into the corner. English translation is Small Pine. Heading down into 10. English translation Duckbill, because it looks like a long nose. I prefer Cyrano de Bergerac, but that's not catching on. Out in through 11, which is dive. Now here comes the important corner. Corner 12. They have a lap car in front of them. And actually, that's Mo. That could play into the advantage of Gasper, Sam. Gasper might be a little faster than he normally would be with that car to pull off of.
Yeah, but Gasper's really lit up the rear tyres exiting the final turn. He didn't get the kind of run that he would have liked to have got. Now let's watch, see if a white flag comes up in the air as the screen goes, yeah, it does. This is the final lap. This is a run to the line, Bill.
Here he comes. I don't know if Hootaludis has enough to get there. And they come across. He does not. The win goes to David Gasper. Demetrius Hootaludis has to settle for second. Dave Ligotti gets third. The lonely Jerry McAreedy is going to come across all by himself. No! Look at this. This is Halliburton. Got ahead of McAreedy. Halliburton gets fourth. Correct that? Yeah, he sure did.
Yeah, he did. He leapfrogged him out of the final turn. And you called it, Bill. It was our good friend Jose Luis Oviedo de Castillo Mo, who kind of helped Gaspers get that win a little bit. Just his extra toe there for the number 37. Gaspers almost threw that away when he lit the tyres up out of a final turn, but fortunately that extra little bit of toe helped him cross the line in first place.
We knew that Mo was going to be important. What we're going to do right now is take a short break. We'll come back to run down the entire finishing order, talk to some of the drivers, and then put a lock on the gate. Back in a few. Welcome back to the Global SimRacing Channel's coverage of the SRF Weekend Warriors League. This is round number 2 of Season 5 from Interlagos. Let's run down the finishing order of the race that you just saw here on GSRC. Your winner, David Gaspers, in a battle the entire time with Demetrius Hootaludis. They were separated in pit stops. When the pit stops came out, they ended up together. They shuffled around. Try as he might, Demetrius Houdaludis could not get around David Gasper. Gasper gets the win. Houdaludis has to settle for second. Dave Legati raced in third for most of the race. That's where he finishes. Kane Howell snaked by Jerry McAreevy for fourth. McAreevy has to settle for fifth. The defending champion, Steven Nelson, one more time, misses the podium. He comes home in sixth. Richard Yolland, really fast, only gets seventh, though. Josh Arnold, Felipe Chauvin in seventh and eighth, eighth and ninth position. 10th position, let's get through this here, Keith Walsh. Sam?
Yeah, following him in 11th place was Luis van der Sloot, ahead of Wayne Palmer. Fred Desai finished in 13th position, ahead of Michael Shaw, who started in 20th, finished 14th. Matteo Dont was one of the drivers who kicked off our round of stops. He finished in 15th, ahead of Stevie Ray. And then Alejandro Lero was behind him in 17th. Jeff Cantor cantered his way up through the field from 23rd to 18th, ahead of Tom Gradwell. And Robert Plumley, who had a bit of a pit road incident, was able to salvage a 20th place finish.
In the blackjack spot, it is Alan Chapman. The double duck spot goes to Edward Doherty. Daniel Sadro gets 23rd. Jose Luis Oviedo de Castillo, and then it's truncated with Mo, so we're calling him Mo, gets 24th. Marcus Burkett in 25th position. 26th, 27th, 28th, and 29th go to Charlie Parker, Jack Hobbs, Gary Wolbert, and Christopher Patterson. 30th spot to Richard Franco. Sam?
Yeah, then rounding out the field, yep, there's another page here. We got Neil Dawkins, Christopher Keeble, Richard Gotokowski, Gary Cates, Ian Wilson, Johan Venter. These are all drivers who failed to finish. Jason Perry, James McCreetry, and Edgar Santinelli did not start the race. So those are drivers who might not want to remember what happened today here at Interlagos. However, Bill, you called up with someone who does.
I do. I got our race winner, David Gaspers. David, congratulations on the win. Let's talk you through the race early on. Tight battling up front. I guess you're just trying to thin the train a little bit.
Yeah, I knew we couldn't shake each other with a strong draft in these cars, so I tried not to hold us up too much and go to the pit stops, where I miscalculated by quite a bit, so I had 7 laps worth of fuel left at the end of the race.
Yeah, your pit stop was incredibly long. First of all, why did you decide for the early stop?
I didn't really look at how much fuel we need before the race, so I wanted to stop at as early as possible, and my calculations were quite a bit off, so it was much later than I hoped for.
Coming out of the pits, I thought you got a break. You had some clear traffic in front of you. Then you had to negotiate around a few cars. But then, did you realize where you were when Houdaludis was coming out of that pit lane, that you guys were side by side, even though he was on the other side of the wall?
Yeah, my spotter told me the next car is the leaders, so I expected him to be there. Before that, I was expecting to be about 3 seconds behind him, but somehow it worked out, and yeah, after that we continued how the first laps went.
Coming out of the final corner, oh, well, let me ask you this. Did you know it was the white flag lap on that lap? Because we weren't sure. Were you confident that was the last lap when the lap started?
Yeah, I knew.
Okay. Coming out of the final corner, heading towards the finish line with the checkered flag, did that lap car help you, do you think? Did you get a little bit of a toe off of it? Did that help keep you out in front of the guy who was chasing you?
Yeah, definitely. I would have lost the race otherwise. I was drifting through the last corner and messed it up quite a bit, so I was really happy to have him in front of me.
It was an exciting race. I thought Dimitrios had your number until that final corner, but he wasn't able to run you down. Thanks for putting on a good show. It's good to see you on another GSRC broadcast.
Thanks.
David Gaspers, the winner today. Let's go ahead and see. We have one more. Oh, here's a guy who probably had even a better view of the action than you watching at home, and that's Dave Legati, who pretty much watched the two battle in front of him. Sam, I'll let you talk to him.
Yeah, Dave, you had, as Bill mentioned, pretty much the best seat in the house all race long.
Yeah, it was a good spectator session for me, really. I couldn't catch the guys in front. They were too quick. I was only staying with him with the toe.
Yeah, unfortunately for you, I think I worked it out with about 3 laps left to go. They started running single file.
Yeah, as I said, I actually managed to get my fuel stop right this time, which is a rarity for me. I think I started spluttering as I crossed the line on the last lap, so I was quite happy to finish in the end, really.
So, were you at all concerned that the race would run an extra lap? Because when the leaders crossed the line at the end there was about 1 minute and 45 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah, it was pretty close. I had the time of the session on my screen, and I pretty much knew that if we crossed less than 1:53, it would have been the white lap. But I was praying a little bit, I must admit.
Well, your prayers were answered, and you were able to bring home a podium finisher. Do you think you're going to be able to back that up when we go to Lime Rock next week?
Yeah, I hope so. It's not one of my favourite tracks. It's always a bit messy at Lime Rock with a great number of drivers on the track, let's say. But yeah, I'll be there. It'll be a bit of good fun, so why not? All
right, well, we look forward to seeing you there, Dave, and congratulations on your podium finish here today.
Thanks very much. See you again.
One of the quieter third-place finishes you'll ever see. All right, we'd like to thank everybody at SRF Weekend Warriors League for making this event a success, and especially Steve Ray for organizing the entire affair and contracting with GSRC to broadcast it. We know you have a lot of choices when you fly. Thanks for flying GSRC. Thanks to the company's equipment and software you see on the screen right now we use on the broadcast. The iconic music that lets your ears alert your eyes you're watching a GSRC Productions comes courtesy of Eric Eckholm and Casey Lalonde. See the screen to how to contact each of them. Sam?
Yeah, the next SRF Weekend Warriors race will return in 3.5 years' time. Oh, sorry, no, it's on April Fool's Day. It will be Easter Sunday, so next week, and that will be round 3 from Lime Rock. GSRC will be there to bring all the action, and we hope you will join us. Until then, take note of the upcoming broadcast slide-ins across your screen now and mark them down on your calendar. If you'd like more information about GSRC, including a complete list of future broadcasts, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, also on Twitter at GSR Channel, and Facebook at facebook.com/globalsimracingchannel. And while you're here, if you haven't done it yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel by simply hitting the button at the bottom of this video.
Putting all these little SRFs on Lime Rock on April Fool's Day, that is can't miss viewing right there. So finally, on behalf of the man whose voice you just heard, that would be Samuel Ryman, our director Joe Peak, and our camera artist Dougie Beard, I'd like to thank all of you for watching. With that said, we're off to have fun storming the castle. So until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.